for game week 25, I told you to consider having Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Morgan Rogers as your captaincy choices, and these guys gave good returns for most managers. So before we do get into it, I would like you to kindly hit that subscribe button, like, comment. Let's know how well you also did for this game week. So as I said, for game week 25, I gave you a couple of players considered as captaincy choices, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, the likes of Cole Palmer. I also gave you Morgan Rogers, who also considered as a captaincy choices. And these players gave good returns for most managers. With Cole Palmer giving massive returns, he gave 20 points. That was very huge from him. I also told you to consider some other players for the game week. We'll see how they also fared for the game week. So as I said, let's go through. Let's start with the fixtures. Let's see how the fixtures went. By it started on Friday with Leeds United. They beat Nottingham Forest by 3 goals to 1. We had Manchester United beating Spurs comfortably by 2 goals to 0. Arsenal doing same to Sunderland by beating them by 3 goals to 0. Bournemouth playing a 1-1 draw with Aston Villa. West Ham beating Burnley by 2 goals to 0. Everton beating Fulham by 2 goals to 1. Chelsea beating Wolves by 3 goals to 1. That is where we had a massive returns from Cole Palmer. We also had Brentford beating Newcastle by 3 goals to 2. Then on Sunday we had Crystal Palace beating Brighton Hove Albion by a lone goal. Then the keenly contested match where City beat Liverpool by 2 goals to 1. It was the match was fought to the end where City came out on top. So that was a very interesting match as well. So let's see how some. So averagely, the average for the game it was 58. If you found yourself below it, then you need to do more. If you're above it, to kudos to you. Highest being 147. So that's what the highest ranked manager for the game week did, right? So he had the likes of Dalo, he had Cucurella, he had Raya Gabriel, he had Morgan Rogers, he had Mbuebo, Bruno Fernandes, Cole Palmer, Dewsbury Hall, he had Joao Pedro, he had Haaland. So that was for his team. And on the bench, he had quite an okay team. So the bench giving him somewhere around 17 or 16 points. So it wasn't so much. And even without the bench, he would have made quite some massive returns. And he's not the first person I saw with this team. So I saw before him a manager who had Cole Palmer and triple captain him. So that was a very bold move from that manager. But with this manager, he captained Cole Palmer. So as I said, if you considered him as a captaincy choice, as I told you to, you'd be smiling. If you also considered Bruno Fernandes, you'll be smiling because he gave 10 points. If you considered Rogers, as I said, you also be smiling because he gave 10 points. And I mentioned some other players to consider, like Joao Pedro, who gave 8 points. So if you had him as well, that would be a plus. If you had him Webo as well, as I mentioned, that would be a plus to you. Gabriel, that would also be a plus because of the clean sheets. So that would have been a good team for you. So that's how it was looking. Let's go through a few of the managers ranking worldwide. So this manager, he's been in the mix, so he's ranked number 1. He's currently paired with another manager, so they are ranked number 1 worldwide. So his team was quite basic or normal. So he had Bruno Fernandes as captain, very solid one. He had Mbuebo. He doubled down on some Manchester United players and it paid off. So Mbuebo, Fernandes, very good selection. He had Haaland, very good one from him. And just like me, he also had Rogers on the bench. I was contemplating who to play, Rogers or Wilson, and I eventually played Wilson and benched Rogers, but Rogers gave massive points. So just like me, he benched Rogers and played Wilson. So rather unfortunate, but that is a very good team from him, 71. This manager ranked also number 1. So he also had quite a basic team or normal team. He captained Bruno Fernandes. He had the likes of Haaland, he had Thiago, Joao Pedro, Rogers. and Bruno Gamarez was on the bench. So that is 11 points on the bench. So rather unfortunate. That is 11 points on the bench. So good selection from him as well. So you could see it was just a basic selection, just the top performance, and he was good to go. He had Declan Rice. Let's see what this manager number three, how his team looking 60. So he had Bruno. He captained. Who did he captain? Gabriel. So that was a bold one from him. 12 points. So that is he had six. So Gabriel had six. So give him the 12. So good selection from him as well. So that's how his team was looking. Not too bad. This manager 118. So let's see what he did different. So he had Dalot. He also had Rogers. He had Palmer. So he captained Palmer, very bold one. So that is giving him the 40 points. He had Bruno Fernandez. So that is very good from him. So very solid selection from him. So hat trick FC Charlie, it goes. The name goes with everything. So that is said. So we have quite some few players ranking pairing up. So these players are all ranked number three worldwide. So this manager also had the likes of Fernandez and Boebo Haaland. So very good one from him. Then it continues there. So it looks like it's very tough this round of the this time of the season. So you want to be very quick and sharp so that you stay on top. So heading into the other game is in the subsequent videos, we'll get to look at how some other fixtures are going to come in. We'll look at the FDR, we'll look at player stats. So if you look at the FDR, we have a double game week for game week 26. So that is going to be very interesting. We have some bold decisions to make the game week 26. So we have Wolves and Arsenal doubling up for the game week. So let's see how that goes. So you also want to consider that heading into the consider that for the subsequent game weeks. We have some game weeks like game week 31, where we have some of the teams blanking because of other fixtures. So you go to somewhere game week, some other game weeks where you'd see some few other teams blanking as well. So it's very important to take note of that if you decide to use your wild card. Very important. That is why I was looking for the FDR. You will do an in-depth analysis of that in our subsequent videos, but just to give you an overview of how things were looking. So for the most selected, you could see they all gave very good points. So for the game week, we have Cole Palmer leading the charts, as I said. Dewsbury Hall continues with the he's ranked number two, so very good for him as well. Then we have quite some few others following. So heading into the game week 26, you already see some managers also bringing in jokers. We have Zumbamendi, we have Rice. They are leading the chart. So very good thoughts to consider heading into the game week. So that is how it's looking for the player stats. So it's very interesting. Let's do a review of my team. So I gave some few players to consider. I didn't really take my own advice. I wanted to go all out, be quite different. It didn't really pay off, but it's just one of those things. But I had quite some basic players, or some of the basic players. I had Mbuebo. I captained Declan Rice. Another bold decision didn't really pay off. And as I said, I benched Rogers and played Wilson, which also didn't pay off. So it seems this game week nothing I did really paid off. So very good selection from there. So let's see how that goes. This is game week 25. We are out.